Hello friends, before we head out on today's journey, I've got something for you. If you've ever wanted to feel more comfortable outside, whether you're hiking the new trail, identifying birds by sound, or simply reconnecting with nature in a deeper way, I've created something just for you. My online classes at the Nature Wander are designed to take you from curious to confident, step by step. I'm not going to overwhelm you, just give you practical skills you can actually use out there in the wild. From beginner birding to navigation to seasonal outdoor safety, these are the skills that turn a walk in the woods into something unforgettable. You can check them out anytime at thenaturewander.com/course. Just check the show notes for a link to the courses and build that confidence for when you're outdoors. Now let's get back outside. Hello friends, and welcome to the Nature Wander. I'm your host Paul. This is a place where we slow down, step outside the noise, and reconnect with the natural world. One story, one sound, and one discovery at a time. So whether we're exploring the hidden lives of wildlife, unpacking the science behind what we see outdoors, or just taking a moment to breathe it all in, this is your space to wander. So wherever you are, take a step outside, or at least in your mind, and let's wander through nature. So I've been thinking lately, someone came up to me a little while ago and they said something about spiders, and it was like I just shook my head and I straightened them out. They're totally wrong on their information, and I find that a lot with nature. I mean, we use nature myths sometimes to to get people to understand things, but sometimes they just get passing down along the chain of information from one person to another, and unfortunately it's usually the wrong information that they are passing along. It's not the truth, it's myths. I remember when I was young and we went to visit my grandfather. He lived in a little town called Germantown in the eastern part of New York State, down towards New York City. And it was actually a getaway for a lot of the New York City people, get out in the country. And he had a nice little house there. And the house was up on it was on a road, but there was a hill right behind the house. And it went up, and then over the hill there was a field over there, and there was usually tall grass there. I'm pretty sure it was a hay field. I mean, I didn't know at the time. I was too young. I didn't really care what a hay field was or anything about farming. But anyhow, so my parents didn't want us going over the hill and into someone else's property. So they knew the curiosity of young kids, especially young boys. So they always told us that there were rattlesnakes over there in the tall grass. And that kept us away. Was it true? It's a possibility that there could have been some, but it really wasn't rattlesnake habitat. It was the region that you will find rattlesnakes, but it wasn't really rattlesnake habitat. It was just a way for them to stop us from going over that hill. And I'm sure if one of us inherited that property and we stayed there, I'm sure we'd be telling the same thing to our kids. It's like, don't go over that hill. There's rattlesnakes over there. I was told that as a kid, and you shouldn't do that. And yeah, so a lot of times these myths in nature get passed down from generation to generation. I once had a naturalist friend who would go on and on and on about daddy longlegs and And she actually was telling the myth about them, which we'll get to in a minute. But she would tell us the myth, and so because she was a trusted friend and a good friend and a very well-known naturalist in the area, and it's like I started believing this myth that she was telling, and I started passing it on, and I realized I finally found out the truth about this, and it's like, oh no. And when I told this naturalist about it, she had an argument with me. It's like, okay, well, I looked up the information, I found the information, it's like, I guess well, anyhow, we'll get to that in a little while. So anyhow, that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to try to be mythbusters. You're going to help me along, and we're going to be the mythbusters, try to bust some of these myths that maybe they're true, maybe they're not, maybe they are partially true. We'll find out. So imagine yourself when you're sitting around a campfire with your family or with friends, and you would start telling stories around the campfire, telling about things that happened to you, and if someone around the campfire was sharing some fact about nature, and I'm doing air quotes with my fingers around the word fact, fact about nature, and all of a sudden we start believing them because we're being told this information. But what if some of these things that we trust so much, that we've been told for so many years, aren't actually true? Those are what we call nature myths. And they usually come from things like misidentification, sometimes out of fear, and sometimes oversimplification. Yeah, we have something that is really complicated to explain, so we simplify it, and it ends up being false when we simplify it because we oversimplified it. Or sometimes it's old advice that we got from a long time ago and it got distorted over the years. So maybe it was true at one point and it just got distorted every time it was told to someone else. And that's where a lot of these myths come from. Now, some of the myths that we're going to go over here, some will be completely false, and others will be partially true. And we'll talk about that with each one. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this one that I have heard for many, many years, and I'm sure you probably have too. It's about the daddy longlegs being the deadliest spider ever. They've got the most deadly venom. But you don't have to worry about them because their mouth parts are so small that they can't bite you. Well, is that true or is it false? I mean, I've been told that for many years. I had a naturalist friend, as I was saying, who told me this. And I trusted her. She was a good friend. She had been teaching about nature for more years than I can remember, long before I was teaching about nature. And so I actually believed this myth about daddy longlegs having the deadliest venom and being able to kill an animal or a human, but they can't because they can't bite them. Well, first of all, I should have thought and realized that, well, if they have this venom, it's for protection or it's to kill their prey. And if they don't have mouth parts to use that venom, why have the venom? That's where I should have thought about it, but I didn't. So there are actually two different animals when we talk about daddy longlegs. The first one is the harvestman. The harvestman spiders are the ones that we usually see outside, crawling on the leaves, crawling on our siding when it's sunny out. They're the ones that we see the most outdoors. And then we have another one that is considered a daddy longlegs, and that's the cellar spiders. Now, the difference between the two, the harvestmen, they don't have any venom at all. They're not even a true spider. Yeah, they're not a true spider. They only have one body part. Spiders have two body parts and 8 legs. The harvestman has 8 legs, but only one body part, so it's not a true spider. And the cellar spiders, they do have venom. Okay, so there is venom present in the cellar spiders, but that venom is harmless to humans. It's not potent. So where'd this myth come from? Well, because the two spiders look very similar, they both have long legs, and one is venomous, we just decided that any spider with long legs is venomous, extremely venomous. So things got confusing between the two different species that we consider daddy longlegs. And this led to an exaggeration. So everyone thought that these daddy longlegs, any spider with long legs, is highly venomous. So why aren't people dying from that venom? Well, they don't bite you because their mouth parts are too small. So this myth, it just kept building and building. And the thing is, it has great staying power. In other words, it's been staying for a long time. No one ever came out and said, no, that's wrong. Stop saying it. We're done. And then you never hear it again. No, the reason is because the myth actually checks all the boxes for the staying power. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit mysterious. It sounds like insider knowledge. And it's easy to repeat at your campfires, or in your classrooms, or at the playground, wherever you want to repeat it. It's so easy to do. Daddy longlegs, they're the most venomous spider, but their mouth parts are too small. So every time you see a spider with long legs, yeah, you can tell that to someone. Don't have to worry about them, but they are the most venomous. Yeah, no. That's why it has the staying power. It's so easy to repeat. So these guys, unfortunately, they got this bad reputation. I mean, a lot of people don't like spiders. They're creepy looking. And this is one of those fun facts that can be repeated. So the verdict on this one, definitely a myth. Like I said, two different spiders. Harvestmen, not venomous at all. And they're not even true spiders. And the cellar spiders, they do have a venom, but it's harmless to humans. Okay, that venom is basically to stun their prey. And they're not after people. They can't eat us. We're too big. So, that myth, busted. Myth number 2 that I'd like to talk about. And this is one that I used to hear all the time. I used to do wildlife rehabilitation. I don't anymore. But teaching about nature and teaching about birds, and especially in the springtime, I used to get people calling me all the time about, oh, the parents abandoned this baby bird on the ground. It's hopping around. I don't want to touch it because then the parents will abandon it totally. So, the myth, if you touch a baby bird, the parents will abandon it. Here's the truth about this. Okay? Most birds have a weak sense of smell. There's a few that have a great sense of smell. I mean, turkey vultures that can smell a rotting carcass miles away. But most birds, especially songbirds, very weak, poor sense of smell. And they have a very strong parental instinct. The parental instinct is going to override any disturbance. I mean, I have been checking bluebird boxes for many years, and when I come to a box and I have a parent bluebird in the box, and she sees me when I open the box and she flies out, I check, see if there's eggs in there. There usually are, or babies, and then I close it up, I walk away, and I wait, and I watch. And the mother comes back. She knows I was there. She saw me. She may have seen me touch it. She'll take care of them. I've had baby birds fall on the ground before I pick it up, put it in the nest. They still take care of them. Now, I do want to explain the difference between nestlings and fledglings here. It's a good time of year to do that too, because it's springtime. You are going to start finding the fledglings and the nestlings. Nestlings, they need help if they fall out of the nest. They can't fly, they can't move much, they can't walk around. Some of them don't have feathers on them. So you can pick them up and put them back in the nest. If you see a baby bird hopping around on the ground fully feathered, That is, oh, I got a bluebird. Speaking of bluebirds, I got a bluebird right here in my yard. Yeah, talking to me. But if it's a fledgling, they're the ones who are hopping around the ground. They're the ones who are hopping around on the ground. Mom kicked them out of the nest already. She's like, okay, time for you guys to be on your own. She starts to get them out of the nest. She'll stick around and take care of them a little while. So they may hang around in your yard for a little while, but they're fine. They don't need rescuing. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. Now, why do people believe this myth that if you touch a baby bird, the parents will abandon it? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, usually adults are just trying to get the kids not to touch the birds, and that's a good excuse. They don't want them to think that, oh, if I touch them, the babies are going to be abandoned. And sometimes adults just believe it. They think that their scent is going to cause the birds, the parents, to just leave the babies alone. Like, oh no, they're not mine anymore. They've been touched. They smell like humans. I don't want to go near them. So some adults believe it. Other adults use it to try to keep their kids from interfering with nature, to keep them away from the birds, which is a good thing. Except, don't tell the lie about it. Just tell them, oh yeah, you really shouldn't bother them. You shouldn't annoy them. You shouldn't pick them up. You're interfering with nature. So these are the reasons why this myth has been passed along for so many years. But I want you to understand that it is just a myth. So that way it prevents unnecessary wildlife rescues. If you find baby birds and you touched them, don't bring it to a wildlife rehabilitator. They don't need to be rescued, and definitely don't take care of it yourself. That's illegal. But yeah, if you touch the baby bird, it's okay. Put it back in the nest. It's fine. I've had a lot of times where birds get knocked out of nests, or nests get knocked out of trees. Put the nest back up in the tree. But I don't want to get too much into rescuing baby birds. I just want to let you know that the verdict of this one, definitely a myth. Okay, now the next one. I've been told that fawns are abandoned by their parents. Every spring I used to get phone calls. I still get people calling every once in a while, but I used to get phone calls all the time. I was waiting for it. And they would always say, oh, I've got this baby deer I found. I was walking along in my field and I spooked it up. It was just laying there. It was quiet. I think it's been abandoned. I was able to catch it and I brought it in the house, and that's when I usually shake my head and it's like, oh no. Well, you see, people believe that because the fawn is alone. The parents aren't around. Why didn't the parents take the fawn with them? Well, the truth is, fawns are intentionally left alone as a survival strategy. You see, the fawns are born without a scent. There's no odor to them. You could go up there and sniff at a fawn and they smell like nothing. Yeah, they don't have a scent, whereas the mother does. So if the mother is with the fawn, the coyote, the fox, the predators can find both of them. The mother can run away from the predator. The fawn can't. The fawn's legs are too weak. They're not strong enough to run fast enough to get away from any predators. So the mother in the morning, she will leave that baby alone. She tells it, hey, just stay as still as possible. I don't know how many times I've walked through a field or walked along a trail, and all of a sudden I'm like right next to a fawn, and it scares the crap out of me as it suddenly jumps up. It scares me. So yeah, the fawn is intentionally staying still to avoid having any predators find them. So yes, the mother will return periodically, often dawn and dusk. Okay, stillness is protection in this case. It's not injured, it's not abandoned, it's just protecting itself from predators. Mom will take care of it. Now, if you do find a baby fawn, baby deer who's in the field, and it's what we call bleating, not bleeding as in blood, but bleating. It's making a call, calling out, and you'll know it if you hear it. I don't have the sound, so I can't put it on here. If I find it, I'll dub it into this episode. But if you hear that bleating, it means that the baby's hungry. And if it's hungry, it usually means that the parents are not around. Something happened to them. So then they probably need rescuing. If in doubt, call a wildlife rehabilitator, and they will let you know. So in this case, we're misinterpreting alone as being abandoned. Don't confuse the two, okay? So the verdict on this one, again, it's a myth. Now, the next one I want to talk about, this is a good one. I've heard two different interpretations of this one. I've heard some people say that if you touch a toad, you're going to get warts. I've heard other people say if you touch a frog, you're going to get warts. Okay, well, first of all, warts are caused by a virus, HPV virus. No, not from frogs or toads. Now, the reason we got this impression that they will cause warts is because the looks of them. Okay, the skin on toads especially, the American toad, all these little bumps, these warty looking skin lesions on it, okay? That's why we think if we touch them, we're going to get those warts. They're contagious. And also, if you usually pick up a toad, it's going to pee on you. At least, that's what a lot of people say. They're actually using the defense to try to ward you off, to scare you away. So, this is where people get this myth from. They pick one up and they get peed on and they, well, you know what? Those aren't warts. Those are actually glands on their skin. If it's a toad, they're glands on the skin that actually help them to protect themselves. They let this liquid out of those so that what happens is it tastes really bad. I mean, if you don't do this, please don't do this, but if one of these guys, supposedly, I'm using air quotes when I say pee, it's not actually urine, but if they liquefy on you, we'll put it that way, that is, if you put it in your mouth, if you taste it, it's going to cause a burning sensation. So like when a snake grabs a toad in its mouth to eat it, it lets this liquid out and it burns and it tastes so bad that that frog is going to spit that toad out immediately. That's how bad it tastes. So it's not the juice from warts that are getting on you and it's going to cause warts. No, if you have warts, it's caused from something completely different, not from touching these guys. Now, some species do secrete this mild toxin, but it's totally unrelated. So, where'd this come from and why do people believe it? Well, once again, it's that visual association with the skin texture and old folklore. So that's why we believe it. So the verdict on this one, myth. Total myth. Not true at all. Now, another one that I hear a lot is bats are blind. Sometimes I hear another one that's similar to that. Bats are blind during the day. Now, I'm sure you've heard about bats and echolocation. Echolocation is where a bat lets out a tone that we can't hear. It's just too high pitched. It's in the wrong wavelength and we can't hear it. So they let out this tone, it bounces off of an object and it comes back to them. And so they can see in their mind, using this echolocation, they can see in their mind where objects are. So that's where people started to believe that bats were blind. They don't need eyes because they have the echolocation. But it's not true. Bats can see. Some species can actually see very well. The echolocation is just an additional sensory tool, especially at nighttime, which is when bats are most active. When they're flying around at night, the bats, they can't see everything. They do have good eyesight. They can see, but they can't see everything. So the echolocation is actually just helping them. They're not blind at night. They're just using echolocation as an additional sensory tool. So, they're blind? No. Okay? Their vision is quite well. So that phrase, blind as a bat, I always hate that. It's not true, but it has stuck culturally. I've used that term before. Man, you're blind as a bat. Bats aren't blind. And that's what you can say the next time someone says that to you. So the verdict on this one, myth. This is a total myth, not true at all. Bats can see. They are not blind. Now another one that, oh boy, I've heard this so many times, especially being a hiker and teaching wilderness survival and teaching hiking skills and being a scout leader for a while. I kept hearing people say, if you're lost in the woods and you need to know direction and you don't have a compass, hey, just look at the trees, look for moss, because moss grows on the north side. It'll grow on the north side of rocks, it'll grow on the north side of trees. Moss always grows on the north side. Well, you know, I've been out in the woods an awful lot, and I've seen moss growing on all sides of a tree. Yeah, moss grows wherever there's moisture and shade. So wherever you have those two in combination, you're going to have moss. It can favor one side, but not reliably. No. So there are a lot of influences as to where moss grows. It's influenced by the canopy of the trees, the terrain, by humidity. All these things will influence what side of the tree or rock the moss is growing on. It's not about direction. It's about conditions. So this is one of those basically people were oversimplifying navigation advice. So don't depend on moss if you're lost in the woods. Depend on the sun more. You can usually tell direction by the sun. Don't depend on the moss. You know, I actually have gone in the woods with scouts before and asked them, I says, okay, so let's look around at the moss and tell me, which way is north? And I'll get different answers because they look at different trees, the moss is on different sides of the tree. So yeah, it's not true that it grows on one side of the tree. So this is an important safety one, because I don't want hikers using this for navigation, or scouts using it for navigation, or you using it for navigation. So this one, the verdict, partially true, but unreliable. Yeah, it can grow on the north side only, but it can also grow on the south side only too. So partially true, not totally true. Okay, next one I'd like to talk about is black bears. I'm always hearing from people, oh, black bears are very, very aggressive. Stay away from them. Well, let's talk a little bit about black bears. I mean, in general, they're actually very shy animals, and they avoid humans as much as they can. But, yeah, here's the but. If there's cubs around, you don't want to be near a mother protecting her babies. You also don't want to be around her if there's food nearby, like your campsite cooler. So essentially, you don't want to be around when there's food around and they're hungry. And also those surprise encounters. Yeah, they can get a little pissed off at you. They are surprised, they're scared just like you are, and that's when they can get aggressive. Now, unfortunately, though, most people think they're aggressive all the time, and whenever you see a bear, you better run. But it's not true. The reason we think that is because the media portrays them as this way. We are always taught to fear the large predators. Now, I want you to understand that they can be aggressive, but not usually. So, I'm encouraging you to be calm and informed about the behavior of these animals. So the verdict on this one, this is another one that's partially true. Not a total myth. It's partially true. They can be aggressive, but all the time, no. Now, another one I want to talk about is, I hear from people, lightning never strikes the same place twice. Now, lightning often strikes the same object repeatedly, especially if it's a tall structure, if it has the path of least resistance, if it's conductor. I mean, if you have a lightning rod on top of your house, I mean, you put them up there to protect your house from the lightning, because that lightning rod is going to attract the lightning to it instead of your house attracting it to your house. And then it goes down, the current goes down the wire into the ground, and it's grounded, and hopefully your house is safe then. So it's going to hit that lightning rod more than once if there's a bad lightning storm. So if you see a tree, this is another one of those that is about safety awareness. If you see a tree that was hit by lightning, don't go running over to it thinking, okay, I can stand here and I'll be safe. No, you could get struck by lightning there. There's a reason that tree was struck by lightning. It was probably the tallest one in that area. It was a good conductor. It was standing out like, oh, come and get me. So you don't want to be near that tree. It could get hit again. So this one, total myth. Now we've got time for one more here. I've got a ton of myths, but we'll do another episode on them, maybe soon. But the last one I want to talk about, I've heard a lot of people say that trees always compete with each other. I mean, if you walk through the woods and you see the trees that are really big, and then all these little trees underneath that are grabbing for the sunlight. Okay, everyone's competing. They're trying to push the other trees out of the woods. Is that true? Well, you know, I've had an episode on how trees communicate with each other. Trees are very cooperative via the mycorrhizal networks. Go back and look for that episode. It's very interesting. Trees actually communicate and they cooperate. If there's a tree in the forest that is sick, the other trees will actually send energy over to that tree to help it to get better. They share nutrients. They communicate stress with each other. Are they competing for sunlight? Yes, they are. So there is a balance between competition and cooperation amongst the trees. It's all about the survival of the fittest. That's true. But when it comes to trees, you're kind of oversimplifying it if you say survival of the fittest. Only the big ones and strong ones will survive. No. There's a balance there. So look deeper into it. Don't oversimplify. Remember I said a lot of myths come from oversimplifying things. So this is another one of those that the verdict is partially true. So yes, they are competing for natural resources, but they also help each other out. Well, unfortunately, we're all out of time. I hope you enjoyed learning about some of the myths that we have been taught throughout the years and whether they are true or not. Remember those campfires and all those stories. I'm sure if you have a campfire and someone says something like that to you, now you get to straighten them out and let them know that, well, you know, that's not really true. Let's not keep spreading these myths. Let's start getting some of the truth out there about nature. Remember, nature isn't simple. We tend to simplify it into stories because of that. Be curious, start observing more, and question common knowledge. I do all the time when it's like, that just doesn't sound right. So I'll do a lot of research and try to find out if that is true or not. It's a good thing to do. So the next time you hear a fact, and I just put air quotes again with my fingers, next time you hear a fact about nature, pause a second, look a little closer, and let the real story reveal itself. Now, before I close, I want to invite you, my listeners, to share some of the myths that you have heard growing up, maybe around the campfire, and leave me a text message, DM me, send me an email. Let me know some of these myths. And in the future, I'm going to have another one of these Mythbuster episodes, and hopefully I can research some of yours and tell you whether it's true or not. Be sure to share some of the myths that you have heard over the years. Thanks for wandering with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe so that you don't miss our next journey. And if you know of someone who could use a little more nature in their life, share the podcast with them, please. Don't forget to visit the show notes for additional information about the Nature Wanderer and this episode. I'm always grateful that you join me each week, every other week for the Nature Wanderer, but don't forget, I'm also on the Forest Connection every week. So until next time, get outside when you can, stay curious, and keep exploring the nature around you. Hello friends, I hope you're out wandering through nature, exploring the natural world around you. Do you enjoy writing about your wanderings? Nature journaling is an awesome, fun way to remember all the adventures you have taken and how you felt during those journeys. If you're looking for some beautiful journals to keep track of all your wanderings, I have several available on Amazon, including some guided journals for children. Start your journey in journaling by clicking on the link in the show notes. Keep exploring the nature around you and keep journaling all your wanderings. Hey there, fellow nature wanderers. If you're like me, you love spending time outdoors, breathing in that fresh air and connecting with the natural world. But at home, have you ever thought about what's in the products you use every single day? That's why I'm excited to share Apple Valley Natural Soap with you. Their handcrafted all-natural soaps are made with organic ingredients, essential oils, and no harsh chemicals. Awesome! So they're not only great for your skin, but they're safe for the planet. And they don't just stop at soap. Apple Valley Natural Soap also carries a full line of natural skincare products, including shampoos, body butters, facial bars, and more. All designed to nourish your skin without synthetic ingredients. You can't beat that. That's just awesome. Whether you're hiking in the woods or just winding down after a long day, their products bring a little bit of nature right into your home. And the best part? By supporting Apple Valley Natural Soap through the Nature Wanderer, you're also supporting this podcast. Just head to the show notes and click on the link for Apple Valley Natural Soap. So go ahead, treat yourself and the environment to something better. Your skin and Mother Nature will thank you. Hello friends, do you love tea and natural wellness products as much as I do? I've partnered with Positively Tea and Positively Botanicals, and I can honestly say I drink their organic loose leaf tea almost every day, and I love it. From organic teas to natural remedies, they offer high-quality products that support a healthy, mindful lifestyle. When you shop through my affiliate link, you not only discover amazing products for yourself, but you also help support the podcast. Visit the link in the show notes to explore their selections today. And for you coffee lovers, they have you covered as well. Treat yourself, support the show, and keep connecting with the natural world.